Commissioner? What are you doing? Good, I might hand it, yeah.
Oh, you want to ask as well? Okay.
Okay, good morning everyone. Good morning Queensland, and it's fantastic to be down here at Logan. Of course with the Treasurer, the Attorney General, our local members, Linus, Mel, the Logan Mayor as well, Darren's joining us, and of course a whole lot of other people, because we've got some really important information to talk to Queenslanders about today. So first of all, can I thank everybody who's been giving a helping hand to those who are doing it tough. This has really packed a punch. These floods have had a big impact on people, and it's going to take not just weeks but months for people to recover. And of course we know that many people will need emotional support to get through it. But today I want to really encourage Queenslanders to dig deep. So today I'm pleased to announce that the state government will be starting our Queensland flood appeal with $2.1 million. Now, that money is going to go directly to $500,000 each to Australian Red Cross, Lifeline, the Salvation Army and St Vincent de Paul. Now a further $100,000 will go to Give It, and everyone knows the strong reputation of Give It, and they actually go out and search and supply washing machines or dryers or dishwashers, whatever people need they buy directly for them. But these organisations that I've mentioned have done an outstanding contribution of helping people in times of need in past natural disasters across Queensland. Now on top of that, I'm also pleased to announce that some of our business community has really stepped up, and you'll hear from some of them today, and they're actually donating as well into this appeal. So I can advise that BHP is donating $2 million towards the Queensland and New South Wales floods. Star is donating $200,000 to Queensland, thank you very much. And Suncorp is donating $200,000 as part of a $1 million donation across Queensland and New South Wales. So what we'll do over the course of today and the weeks that come, we'll be able to put all of this information up online. And what we believe the best thing for people to do is to donate to these organisations, because they have a proven track record of getting money out the door to where it's needed most. The last thing we want is money kept in a big bank account that doesn't get to the people. So please, I urge Queenslanders that, you know, we can be stronger together. We need to help each other out, and today is the day over the course of the coming days and weeks to really help people who have been doing it tough during this time. So look, what I might do first is I might get the organisations to come forward and just say a few words, and some of the business community, and then we'll give our regular update. So I just think this is just so important to Queenslanders. I really want you to hear first about how these organisations are really going to be helping Queenslanders. So we might ask the Red Cross to come forward first. Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you very much, Premier, and thank you for this opportunity. So, since we started this event, we've been working in the evacuation centres and supporting the Queensland government in the recovery centres and visiting people in the homes. And obviously missing persons as well is a big part of the work that we are doing at the moment. This injection by the Queensland government is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your generosity. This goes towards the appeal and to make sure that we can support Queenslanders over the next couple of months and couple of years, because this is going to be a long time for the recovery efforts in Queensland. The work, the psychosocial support, the emotional toll on communities. We still have people in evacuation centres. We still have people coming to the recovery centres through Department of Communities, and we're still visiting people in the homes. And the need is going to be long term, and we're asking people to support us and support the Queensland government in this initiative. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you. We've got, is it Patricia from St Vincent de Paul? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to personally thank Annastacia for having today and these donations. Honestly, they do help us from the ground up. We're there for the long haul. We look after these people. We give them food, we give them accommodation, we talk to them, we give them the time of day, help them when they're stressed, you know, help them when they lose hope. And for us to have those funds, because it's not just a small area, it's a large area, and it's just, oh, I'm so thankful, totally.
Thank you very much. Now we've got Simon, is it, from Salvation Army? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to firstly say thank you to the Premier and the Government for the support shown not only to the Salvation Army, to all the services here. And I think one of the strengths of what we do in this state is we work together, and the services represented here behind me and others that aren't here, we work together to bring good outcomes for this state. So, thank you so much for the support. The Salvos have been out there in the field at the evacuation centres, since mid last week. The week before, so the last 10 days out there supporting, and now we're moving to the recovery phase. So we'll be there as long as it takes. We've got volunteers and staff and officers out in the field providing the support, and we will be there providing hope where it's needed most for as long as it takes. Thank you very much.
Lifeline, is it Luke? Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Premier. This incredibly generous donation will enable Lifeline Queensland to be able to continue providing psychological support to Queenslanders and communities that are impacted by the natural disasters. And the emotional toll that natural disasters have on individuals and communities is really significant. So early intervention is the absolute key to being able to provide psychological and emotional support. And through our community recovery efforts and through our 13, 11, 14, we will continue to be able to provide support from a psychological and an emotional perspective to Queenslanders over the course of however long it may take.
Thank you very much. Gibbet, Sarah? Thank you very much, Premier. On behalf of Gibbet and the communities we are helping, a huge thank you for this incredible, generous donation. At this time, we know Queenslanders are incredibly generous, but we do ask for people to please do not bring donations into affected areas. Unwanted donations can actually hinder recovery efforts, so we're asking people to pledge their donations online to Gibbet, and we'll make sure your generosity gets to where it needs to go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Suncorp, Pat, and then Matt.
Thanks, Premier. Today, Suncorp Group has pledged $1 million support package to help support customers across New South Wales and Queensland. $200,000 of that is going to the Queensland Premier Appeal. Queenslanders have been here before, and we know the coming weeks and months are going to be tough as we start to rebuild both physically and emotionally. Today we are showing we are here for Queensland all together. Suncorp is proud of the role that we play in helping communities recover after natural disasters. We know the coming weeks and months are going to be tough. Our assessment teams are on the ground and in impacted communities. We've got our customer support teams in recovery hubs across southeast Queensland, and we're moving into New South Wales. To date, we've had more than 20,000 claims for this event, and 15,000 of those have been here in Queensland. The top 5 impacted suburbs so far here in southeast Queensland are Rockley, Deagon, Brighton, Windsor and the Gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Premier. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got about 4,000 staff working in the affected areas. We know that hundreds of our staff have been directly affected and thousands of our guests. So our donation today really is hopefully a kickstart to rebuild the community, and I appeal to all of the other organisations and individuals to follow us and do their bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So as you can see, there's a lot of people out there. Now I know there's a lot of other businesses out there that also want to show a helping hand, so please think about what donations you can do. And I also know that there are children out there and even seniors that want to donate. Any donation, even if it's $5, every single dollar will go towards helping rebuild a family's lives. So please, Queensland, dig deep and let's help people get back on their feet. Okay, we might just move on now to a bit more about community recovery. So we have 13 community recovery hubs that are now operating across the impacted areas, and that also includes now a new one opening right here in Logan today at the Kingston East Neighbourhood Centre. There's 2 others in Logan around the area, Beanley, and a pop-up hub at Caddy's Community Centre. And of course these are the areas that have been hardest hit. Can I also stress to people that they can come into these community centres and find out the hardship grants that they can access, and we've got our friendly community recovery staff available to help. And can I just say, this is a huge team effort from all levels of government, local, state and federal. And over the next couple of days I'll also be in the position, after discussions with the Prime Minister, to announce our recovery coordinator. So that'll be in the next couple of days. So far we've had 26,686 grant applications have been received. 9,643 payments have been made of more than $4.2 million, benefiting around 23,000. And we've had more than 10,000 calls received to our community recovery hotline. So that can just give you an indication about how people are impacted. In relation to schools tomorrow, I've been advised by Minister Grace that from the state schools, there's less than a dozen schools that won't be open, so she'll be putting that final list up on the website later today, and we'll be getting some information from the private schools as well, so people can have that information. Also too, our Energex people are working around the clock, and we have now only 3,000 customers without power, so that's been a huge mammoth effort as well. So look, I might just hand over to the Police Commissioner to say a few words, and then Commissioner Leach, and then we'll hear from our local members. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier, and good morning, everyone. Sadly, overnight, we've had another death that has been added to that list of people that have passed away during this event. That is now stands at 11. Body of a 42-year-old woman was found in floodwaters at Mudgee Bay yesterday morning. It is believed that her vehicle was swept away a week ago and only discovered sadly yesterday as the water started receding. Our Operation Uniform Nash continues, which has been extraordinarily successful, deploying an extraordinary amount of police in those vulnerable areas where people still have not returned home or to their businesses. And overnight, sadly, there are 6 incidents that we're investigating that are of concern, but I can assure you that our investigators will be pursuing every one of those. I want everyone to just be careful on the roads this afternoon as storms come through. It is still quite saturated and we will expect flash flooding, so please be patient, please keep off flooded waters. All of these deaths as a result of going into flooded waters. Some definitely unintentional, but certainly some people making really, really poor decisions. And lastly, can I thank all our services? Whilst we're talking about going from response into recovery, they actually have been with us all the way through from response into recovery. Do an amazing job with all the agencies in Queensland at all levels of government too. All of you, a sincere thank you for making our job a lot easier and to responding to Queenslanders. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Leach?
Good morning. Pleasingly, overnight we've had no calls relating to swiftwater rescue. We have received 60 calls to the State Emergency Service for assistance. The SES still has around 500 to 600 outstanding calls across southeast Queensland. So if I could ask that if in the last couple of days you've rung the SES but you've been able to resolve your issue and you no longer require SES, could you please ring 132 500 and cancel your task? That'll allow the SES to go on to the more urgent tasks and provide support where it's most needed. And like Commissioner Carroll, if I could ask, if you're in southeast Queensland today with the predicted weather conditions and the chance of severe thunderstorm cells forming, please subscribe to the Bureau of Meteorology website. Keep an eye on the weather in your local conditions. These thunderstorm cells can form very quickly. Our catchments are saturated and any rainfall could see a rapid rise in creeks or rivers. So please take care out there if you're moving around in southeast Queensland. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner?
Good morning. As both the Premier and the Commissioner have indicated, we are transitioning from our response phase into recovery, but I can report that we still have, as of today, 140 people in our evacuation centres. It's really pleasing that both we only Brisbane, Ipswich and Toowoomba, we still have people in our centres, but now in Gympie, Bundaberg, Logan, Redlands and Gold Coast, our centres have been able to close. So, but please remember we still have 140 people in our centres. We currently have 435 ADF deployed, assisting with the flood clean-up across Ipswich, Lockyer Valley, Gympie, Brisbane and Somerset. And the ADF are currently in Logan undertaking planning so they can commence here on Monday and Tuesday to assist with the clean-up effort in Logan and some areas in Redlands. And we also have a clean-up effort going over on our Moreton Bay Islands. So we've had a lot of flood debris and pontoons and wash up on the beaches over there, so that's occurring today. We still have some resupply efforts occurring in both Ipswich and Gympie, so we still have some isolated communities there. And they're being looked after, but it's expected that the roads to those communities will open as of Monday, so those resupply efforts will also slow down. Can I just, like the Commissioner, also acknowledge the fantastic coordination and support across all the government agencies, our non-government agencies and our volunteer organisation. We've seen right from the beginning of this event the support that's been given to those people in our evacuation centres in supporting with resupply, community members moving pharmaceutical drugs into the most needed people in our community. So could I just acknowledge that work, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Treasurer?
Well, it's great to have the Premier down here with Team Logan as our city's gone through one of its worst weeks in history. I want to particularly acknowledge the Mayor, Councillor Darren Power, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor John Raven. In fact, all of the councillors, Councillor Mindy Russell's here with us today as well, for their outstanding work in assisting with flood relief and recovery. They've done a terrific job leading the community. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues, members of Parliament from Logan like Shannon Fenneman, Linus Power, Mel McMahon. Linus and Shannon in particular have been a tower of strength for their community. They have felt the brunt of this flood, as all of our communities have, and they've been really outstanding leaders at a difficult time. I want to acknowledge our community organisations like the Kingston East Neighbourhood Centre, Kim and her team. Across the city, those community organisations have done so much to help people who are really hurting at this time. And I want to thank the generosity of all of these Queensland companies, some great Queensland institutions as well in the relief and recovery and community services space. They are working so hard to help Logan recover. This is the Queensland paradox. The reason we are so good, so helpful and so kind to our friends, neighbours and our community is because we face these natural disasters so often. But we don't live in an ideal world. An ideal world would mean we wouldn't have any natural disasters, and that's not the case. It's not the case for Queensland in 2022, as we have seen through the pandemic and the natural disaster. So we will do what we always do well here in Logan and across Queensland. We'll roll up our sleeves, we'll get on with the job, we'll help our friends, family, neighbourhoods and communities, and we will ensure that our city of Logan and the state of Queensland goes from strength to strength now every day that follows from today.
Shannon, and then we'll hear from the Mayor.
Thank you, Premier. Wonderful to have you down at really the heart of our community here at Kingston East Neighbourhood Centre. It has been devastating and heartbreaking for so many families right across Logan who have gone through one of the worst floods we have ever seen here. And so many of our families don't have insurance. They have lost almost everything. But what I love about this city is how generous people have been. Organisations, small businesses, individuals who themselves have been impacted have been dropping off food, cleaning equipment, you name it, to try and support their neighbours. And that's what the spirit of Logan is all about, and that has been on full display in the last week. And I just want to thank everyone, our community organisations, our services. We've all been working so hard to support each other. And that's what's so wonderful about Logan. I had a woman whose home was flooded, Kiri, and she came into my office with homemade quilts from her mother's sewing group for other families. That's what we've seen in the last week. And the Community Recovery Centre here really will be such a support to so many families. So I really encourage any of our families to come down here. There are so many friendly people ready to help. We're all with you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Premier. Just a quick update. Logan City has lost around about 90 homes and about 50 businesses have been inundated. We had a huge issue with power supply. We had over 6,000 homes. We're down to about 7 or 8. Some of those with significant problems with the power lines under the water. Logan dodged a bullet. Had it not stopped raining on Sunday night, it would have been a lot worse than what it is. I just want to acknowledge the Premier and the state government, what a wonderful job they've done. But also I've got to acknowledge the role of Logan City Council and the officers. They have worked tirelessly. They're actually out there now clearing roads. And our disaster management group worked 12-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, and they've done a marvellous job. Thank you.
Thanks, Premier. And one of the things is I admire so much about our community is the resilience they have. I know that the Premier came down to some of the houses in North Maclean, and some of those old friends have had their houses go under again. So this isn't a short-term thing. We'll need to be there to support them over the long term because they got flooded in 2017, they're flooded again. It's going to be tough for them in the long term. So one story I wanted to relay was a rental family that were foster parents, and they've lost their home because it's been damaged beyond repair. And fantastic work from Shannon, who actually got accommodation for them and got them accessible. But it's going to be a long journey for them to get safe and secure accommodation. I also wanted to thank people like the Logan West SES, the SES in general. I think Energex has done an absolutely fantastic job. I don't think people understand the number of houses that are out and the difficulties they had with mud. But also our police and fireys. This isn't just a job for them, it's a real calling. They love what they do and they want to help people in times of need. So the big message is that, and also I want to thank Council and Darren because we've all worked together. The big message though that this is a resilient fighting community that keeps battling, but it's going to be a tough journey once the people have gone and the waters are receded, and they've still got a big job ahead of them.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Premier, and thank you very much for being here today. For my community in Beenleigh and surrounds, it's been a pretty tough week. It's been 5 years since we had flooding of this level, and in some cases it was worse than what we had in 2017. Now, my community sits in between where two rivers meet. So when the Albert and the Logan rivers flood, my community really does feel that effect of it. But what I also know is that my community knows how to come together when the chips are down, and the work that I have seen in our community, everyone pitching in, getting together over the last couple of days has been fantastic. Thank you very much to all of our state government services, police, QFES, SES, everyone being out there. We're out there with QBuild doing the assessment the other day, and everyone is working together. Thank you also very much for the Council and for the announcement today, Premier. I know my community is going to rely on this quite heavily. All the organisations here today are present in my community, and I know that they're going to reach out and do wonderful things in my community, so thank you.
Mick, do you want to do power quickly? Thanks.
Thanks, Premier. Well, as you can see, I've been out with our Energex crews around Logan this morning, and it has been a huge effort. 180,000 homes across southeast Queensland were without power. We're now down to 3,200, and here in the Logan community that number is as low as 7 this morning, 9 in Gympie, 3,004 still in Brisbane, but we are still on track to return supply to all homes by close of business today. I'd like to join with the Premier, the Mayor and others and just thank the cooperation of all of those services and our publicly owned Energex crews, and acknowledge the crews that have flown in from Cairns, Townsville, Mackay and Rocky to support this community. We're looking forward to having the power on as soon as possible.
Thanks, Mick. And if I can just urge South East Queenslanders to listen to the Bureau today, because they'll be giving updated weather information throughout the course of the day. Happy to take some quick questions.
Premier, the Mud Army was stood down last night. Was that too soon, or can you just explain why that was the case?
You'll probably have to ask the Mayor about any decisions about that. But, you know, there's been a huge effort, and communities are still continuing to help one another out. And can I also add a big thank you to the Army, who's also come in full force. So it's we've got our recovery coordinator will be hitting the ground early this week, and they'll be going out to different communities. My whole cabinet, we meet tomorrow and of course we'll get an update across all of the agencies tomorrow, and then we'll be deploying all of the ministers across the flood impacted areas as well.
Premier, do you have an updated figures of how many houses have been made uninhabitable, how much infrastructure we've lost?
We'll get all that tomorrow at our cabinet meeting. As you can appreciate, there's a lot of effort going out. I know the Deputy Premier's reconstruction agency, they're out now and they do those damage assessments, but they actually physically have to go out and site as well to work out whether it's low, moderate or severe damage.
Was anyone from the government involved in discussions in standing down the Mud Army?
Not to my knowledge.
Or do you think we could have got an extra half day's work in before the weather came?
Look, you'll have to ask the Mayor that with all due respect. I'm quite sure he's got his own reasons for that. And look, can I just also mention too that all the councils have really cooperated with the state government as well over this whole period of time. And as I said, our Queensland Disaster Management Group also involves all of the mayors.
Can you explain what the State Disaster Coordinator, what work they're going to be doing?
I'll go through all of that when I appoint the person. As you can appreciate, I have to speak with the Prime Minister. We're in those final negotiations, and I would like to brief my cabinet first.
Premier, it's become evident this weekend how badly damaged community sporting infrastructure has been.
Yep.
Is there any special assistance for these clubs?
Yeah, there are, of course. There's grants available to sporting organisations. I can remember very clearly after the Bundaberg floods, there was a huge assistance program which was put into fixing up ovals and sporting clubs. That happens across the state, so we'll be going through all of that tomorrow as well.
Were you a little surprised, Premier, though, that the Mud Army was stood down? There's still a lot of cleaning.
Look, I only heard about that late last night from a text from one of my ministers. You'll have to ask the council.
Premier, the council suggesting that the state should be playing a bigger role in cleaning up Morden Island with all the junk that's washed down the river. Is there any plans to clean that up?
With all the debris and everything.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned the other day that my advice was that the Navy was also sending in 2 vessels. I think they were coming here early this week to actually do a bit of a survey about that. But look, there's a lot of impacts, of course, in our waterways, in Moreton Bay. All of our coastal beaches have been impacted as well. So look, everyone, please make sure that if there are signs about not going swimming, don't, and also to please keep out of floodwaters as well. So as we can see, tragically, as the Police Commissioner gets up every day and talks to us, tragically people have lost their lives going through floodwaters. You just don't know what's underneath.
Can you ask the Treasurer some questions about the clean-up costs?
You sure can, but he'll be giving us the update tomorrow at Cabinet.
Maybe he'll give us some details.
I don't think he will. He might give you a little bit, Jack.
Has there been any early estimates yet on how much that cost is going to be across the government, and what impact is that going to have on the budget as well?
I'll be giving you an update after Cabinet tomorrow, Jack. No, we're doing some work on that now, and I will. Obviously, it's a very significant event. It's a rain bomb that dropped on Queensland and the southeast about a week ago, and for an event that lasted just 3 days, it's going to have a big impact on our economy and on our budget. But I'll be giving an update on that when we finish our work today.
Can you just explain so Queenslanders can understand what type of expenses will that be? Will it be on roads? Will it be on certain types of infrastructure? What type of things will need to be, more money to be spent on?
It'll be all of those. It'll be state infrastructure, roads, rail lines that have been impacted, state infrastructure like schools, so hard infrastructure. There may be some hospitals that have had some damage to them as well, so all of the state infrastructure. Infrastructure impacts on councils as well. Of course, council roads have been really badly hit down here in Logan. Bridges, those sorts of impacts. They'll all be taken into account, and then there's the service cost to support community organisations responding, state government agencies, and also recovery costs for families and individuals. So we're working on that tally at the moment, but it'll be a big cost for an event that really just lasted 3 days, and the consequences will run for some weeks now.
And is there any indication, because we've already already asked, I think, 250 million or so from the Commonwealth on that first package. Is there any other indication as to how much more money you're going to need from the feds?
We'll work that out, but we have a very strong funding model, a funding system with the federal government through our natural disaster relief and recovery funding arrangements, and so the federal government will be supporting the state, generally to the tune of 50% on some of those costs, but not all of them. All right, thank you.
Yeah, the opposition says it's a damning report and felt like the government was...
Well, I think they should read it. It was independent and the report was handled down. It's public.
Are you happy with the outcomes?
Well, the report is very clear. It's very comprehensive, and I urge people to have a look at it.
What's your take on it, though? Are you happy with it? Do you think does it vindicate?
Well, I don't have an emotional view on it. It's a report, and it's there for everyone to see. And, and he makes his findings. He is independent of government.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right, everyone, we'll be doing some photos over here, please.